Hey guys, it's Rory and Jonathan here from IGN, and we are at the Kingdom Hearts 3 premiere event here in Santa Monica. Now, we just got a hands-on demo of the game, so we thought we'd talk about 5 of the coolest things that we saw while we were playing it. It is real. After all this time, it's real.
That's real. But yeah, there was a lot that we saw that was really cool.
There was. Yeah. So let's start off with the first one we're going to be talking about, which is the combat.
Yes, yeah, it's surprisingly complex. I didn't expect there to be this much variation in both your Keyblade attacks, your magic, and the way that you can mix and mend those while in combat.
Yeah, and it's very fluid as well.
Yes, yeah, it seems like they've taken sort of the best of every Kingdom Hearts games, including the spin-offs, and sort of integrated it into this complete whole that works super well right now. So you have all these Keyblade transformations based on each world's Keyblade.
Yeah.
So they'll go through different levels, and so like the one from Toy Story, for example, since that's one of the worlds we did, it goes from being a giant hammer to a giant claw, and it's all themed on the world, and they have different abilities as you go on.
Yeah, yeah.
So it really allows you to sort of, as you're attacking different enemies, change up your combat style. If you want to use, for example, like the Tangled Keyblade, that gives you some ranged attacks, which is much better when you're fighting some bigger enemies you don't want to get close up with because they have super strong melee attacks.
Right.
So there's a lot more variety and skill required for the combat than I was expecting. I sort of was thinking, oh, I could just button mash, and you can a bit, but it's so much more fun when you get to learn it.
Absolutely, mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, and especially the attractions. So there's all these different attacks that are based on Disney rides,
right,
and they let you actually attack enemies in a variety of different ways. There's like the Big Thunder Railroad, there's Splash River Mountain.
Something like that,
one of those
some
things.
combination of those words.
Splash River Water. It allows you to sort of go around, you attack all these enemies, and then you ride the entire wave that you created through the level again, defeating the enemies like again. It's such a cool integration of a famous Disney aspect, but the series hasn't touched it yet, so it's really
Absolutely.
cool.
Without being too overdramatic, they're quite magical in a weird way.
Yeah.
It does feel like a Disney ride.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to describe
Yeah,
it.
exactly. There's Disney magic, you talk about it all the time for like the real world Disney stuff, and it's really cool how they've implemented Disney magic into this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the subject of combat, one of the big things in this game is the link attacks.
Yes, these are sort of like taking the place of summons in the game, which started with Kingdom Hearts 1, but these are really beautiful, specific to the characters that are the link attacks, and it allows them to explore bits of Disney they may have already explored in past games or haven't touched yet, like Wreck-It Ralph.
Exactly,
You can just summon Wreck-It Ralph.
And like, there's so much attention to detail in even all the entrances of the characters.
Yes.
Seeing his arcade screen, load him in and dump him in the game.
And then he goes from 2D to real 3D into the world. It's such a nice touch, and he sort of has this ability where he builds blocks that essentially trap enemies, and then you can blow those up to harm them. But then
I think you mean he wrecks them to
Excuse me, he wrecks it. He does not fix it.
He's not blow up Ralph.
Sorry, Felix. Yes, blow up Ralph. Look forward to the sequel. But yeah, I also love that we've seen the aerial summon before in some of the trailers, but we didn't know how that would be integrated, and this is one of the links. And it still looks gorgeous. You summon her in sort of this whirlwind of water, sort of this cyclone.
It's incredible. And I've never wanted to be more of a merman in my life than when I use that attack.
You're always a merman to me.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, of course. It's really cool to see it because you essentially can start diving in and out of whatever platform you're on.
Yeah.
So I'm just diving in and out of concrete outside of like Andy's house. And you're just using that as an early attack, and then you're able to just sweep everyone with it. It's a really cool wrinkle that takes a familiar aspect of the franchise and really puts a new spin on it.
Yeah, and we only saw 2 different link attacks so far,
Yes.
which was Ralph and Ariel, so it's exciting to see which other ones are going to make it in the
Yeah,
final game.
and we're not sure how you earn them in the game, how they're implemented, and maybe you have to get some new stuff in the full game, but I'm excited to see those fleshed out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But of course, combat isn't all there is. In the demo, there was a huge emphasis on exploration,
Yes.
which I know always has been, to a certain degree, a big part of the Kingdom Hearts game.
Yeah, it's been there since the first Kingdom Hearts, but for me, it sort of wavers in each entry how important it is. Kingdom Hearts 1 had a lot of exploration and platforming. It wasn't the best platforming, but it was there and encouraged you to explore every nook and cranny of worlds, whereas I felt the level design of Kingdom Hearts 2 was flatter, and you just went from room to room and attacking enemies, but they were really bigger rooms and bigger areas. This sort of takes the best of both of those worlds and makes really big areas where there's a lot to explore and jump on. And we saw that both in the snippet of Olympus, where we actually were scaling the mountain, and also you get that in Andy's room itself, and as well as in the toy store that you explored.
Yeah, the toy store was one that really stood out to me because obviously, you know, that's a designer's dream. You get to design all of these fictional toys across 3 floors of a giant toy store. And half of the game, was like running around whacking people with a giant Keyblade. But the other half was just the fun of exploring the different toys and items they have in the store.
Yeah.
As we noticed, they actually have a whole section for Dissidia.
Yeah, and it's all the Final Fantasy summons, our toys
Which
in the
is
store.
so cool.
I love it so much, and there's so much attention to detail in that world because it's such a big world that they have to put together.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to still explore because they've smoothed over the flow motion exploration, the running and stuff that they've introduced in Dream Drop Distance and used in 2.8. So you're seeing that integrated now more fully with Sora, and it's really fun to be able to just climb up a railing all the way through this 3-story toy store, which is massive because you're just a small little toy.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. He can scale pretty much any wall that's flashing. And it's really cool to just be able to, oh, I want to get back into Andy's room, let me just run up the side of his house and jump in the window.
Absolutely.
So if you feel like you missed treasures, it still very much opens you up to collecting everything, which I like.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And one of the big things, obviously, about the worlds you're going to be exploring is, as we mentioned, the attention to detail, not just of the world, but the amount of effort that's gone into, bringing these new characters into the Kingdom Hearts franchise.
Yeah, it's really important that they nail the feel of all these Disney and Pixar properties, and at least in the Toy Story world, which we've seen the most of at this preview, you really feel like they've nailed the Toy Story spirit, both in the characters, but also the design of them.
And the music as well, it sounds incredible.
I kind of just left it playing for a little bit to hear the theme
There's
music.
no shame in that.
It's so wonderful, but it works so well with the combat and use. So the new combat music in the world is a spin on the Toy Story music melded with the familiar Kingdom Hearts combat music, which I loved. Like, it really feels like they're smartly melding these franchises yet again.
Absolutely.
And there's so much detail in the characters themselves, and you see like all the different toys have like the plastic lining on them or a little beaten up because maybe they're used toys or things like that in Andy's room.
Yeah.
And then you also even get like on Buzz's butt, it says like copyright Disney Pixar. Like they've clearly gone all out to make sure, one, it's Disney and Pixar, but two, these are toys.
As they said in the panels as well, the creators who helped design characters like Mike Wazowski were here on board the project to give tips for the designers who were putting them into the game.
Yes, it's really cool to see how involved Disney actually is in it, because you do think of it as a Square Enix game, but Disney is such an important part of it, so to be able to know they're actually behind it and making sure things stay true to the source material is really awesome to see.
And finally, obviously, one of the most important and strangest things about the Kingdom Hearts franchise, the story.
There's a lot of it.
There is a lot of it, yeah.
Put simply.
So we got kind of a little glimpses of cutscenes of some characters who've been established obviously in previous games, kind of alluding to what was happening in a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Nothing too solid so far.
No, nothing yet. What I've always loved about Kingdom Hearts is it's sort of twofold stories, where it's the Disney story and then the larger Kingdom Hearts story going on. And usually, at least in the earlier entries, it was very much retelling the Disney stories you already knew. Whereas this Toy Story story that we're seeing, and probably the Olympus story, feel like fresh takes on that source material. It's cool to just see them taking original spins on familiar products. So that's one really cool element. We did see a little bit of the larger mythology. They kind of kept it a little hidden, but as we've seen in some of the trailers, when you get to the Toy Story world, one of Xehanort's forms of his new organization is there also. We learn actually a bit more about his plan in this world, so spoilers if you don't want to know what he's doing there. But if you do want some hint of it, don't worry, we don't know everything.
It's a tiny hint.
Just a tiny bit. He's trying to learn more about how hearts work in this world. And so he's split the world into two. So some of Woody and Buzz's friends are gone in this world, and they're essentially in this alternate version of that world.
Because it seems like that would be making the story even more complicated, splitting everything in two. But who knows, maybe that's just actually an efficient way of making things easier.
Yes.
So that is just 5 of the coolest things that we have seen right here at the Kingdom Hearts 3 premiere. If you want more info in the game, make sure to check out IGN, where we've got a full written preview. And for all your latest video game coverage, stick with us right here at IGN.